Hey everyone, I'm Anna, and welcome to your daily tarot reading. Thank you for joining me today. I need you to stop right now. Whatever you were doing, wherever your mind was, bring it here, because what I am about to share with you is something that is going to land in a place you were not expecting. And I need you to be fully present for it, not half present, not skimming here, because the energy I am feeling around you tonight has a specific quality to it, a sharp, clarifying, almost electric quality that tells me what is coming through is not something vague or general. It is something precise, something that touches a situation you have been living inside of, possibly without knowing its full shape. And the full shape of it, when it becomes clear, may leave you breathless in a way that changes how you see everything that has been happening around you. There is a conversation that happened without you, not in front of you, not with you present, not in a space where you had any ability to hear it or respond to it or offer your own truth as a counterweight. A conversation in which your name was spoken, your character was described, your story was told, but told by someone who does not have the full picture, or who has the full picture and chose to present only the parts that serve their own narrative. And what was said in that conversation, the specific words, the particular framing, the impression that was created in the mind of the person who was listening is something that you have perhaps felt the edges of without yet being able to name what you were feeling. A subtle shift in the energy of someone around you, a conversation that felt slightly off, slightly weighted with something unspoken, a look, a response, a moment of distance that didn't quite make sense given the context. Your instincts were picking something up, and your instincts were right. For some of you, you already have a sense of who this involves. A name surfaced in your mind just now, quickly, before your rational mind had a chance to intervene, and I want you to pay attention to that. The first instinct, the one that arrives before the thinking begins, is almost always the most accurate one. For others, the situation may be less clear, the players less obvious, and what I am sharing tonight may feel more like a confirmation of a general unease than a specific revelation. Either way, what matters most is not the specific details of who said what to whom. What matters most is what you do with the awareness that this has been happening and how you choose to move through it with your integrity and your clarity fully intact. Let me speak to the nature of what was said, because I feel it in the energy, and I think naming its quality will be more useful to you than any specific content I could offer. What was spoken about you carries the signature of someone who is working through their own unprocessed feelings about you, feelings they have not brought to you directly, feelings they have not examined honestly, feelings that have found their outlet not in the difficult and necessary conversation with you, but in the easier and more comfortable conversation with someone else. This is not strength. This is the behavior of someone who is managing something they cannot yet face, and the managing of it, the routing of it through a third party, says far more about them and their current limitations than it says about you or your worth. Because here is the truth about what gets said about people behind their backs. It is almost never a neutral transmission of information. It is almost always a construction, a version of events, a portrait of a person built from the specific emotional state and the specific needs of the person doing the speaking at the moment they are speaking. Someone who is hurt builds a particular portrait. Someone who is embarrassed builds another. Someone who is trying to manage how they appear to a mutual party builds yet another. The portrait may contain elements of truth, most portraits do, but it is not a complete or objective image. It is an interpretation, a defense, and you standing on the outside of it, never having been given the opportunity to add your own colors to the picture, deserve to know that the image that was created is incomplete in ways that matter. What was said may have painted you in a light that felt unfair. That minimized something important about who you are, or exaggerated something that is only true under very specific circumstances, or left out the context that would have made everything else make sense. And the person who received this portrait, the friend who sat and listened and formed impressions based on what they were told, may have walked away with a version of you that has very little relationship to the actual full, complex, extraordinary person that you are. That is a strange and disorienting thing to sit with. To know that somewhere in the world there is an image of you circulating that you did not authorize, did not contribute to, cannot correct. It can make you feel exposed in a way that has no obvious remedy. But here is what I want you to understand about that feeling. The exposure is not real, even though it feels real, because the truth of who you are is not diminished by someone else's characterization of it. The actual you, the one who shows up in direct experience, in real conversation, in the lived reality of being in your presence, is not something that can be permanently replaced by a second-hand account, no matter how skillfully that account was crafted. People who know you, and people who only know the portrait in time will encounter the person, and the person will speak for themselves in a way that no portrait ever could. I also want to speak to what this situation may be revealing about the relationship between you and the person who spoke, because what I am feeling in that energy is something worth examining carefully and without the interference of hurt feelings, which I know is easier said than done. There is a gap between how this person presents themselves to you and what they do in your absence. That gap between the face they show you and the one they show when you are not there to see it is significant information, not necessarily evidence of malice. People are complicated. People say things in moments of frustration or insecurity or need that they would not say in calmer, more considered moments. But a pattern of that gap, a consistent tendency to speak about you in ways that would not survive your presence, is something that deserves to be held with clear eyes rather than explained away out of loyalty or habit or the comfort of familiarity. You may have been giving this person more of your trust than they have been earning. Not because you are naive, you are not naive, but because you are someone who tends to lead with generosity, who extends the benefit of the doubt, who prefers to believe in people's best rather than protect against their worst. These are not flaws. They are among the most beautiful things about you. But they can sometimes leave you in positions where the trust you extend freely is not being matched by the care with which it is being held. And this may be one of those positions worth examining, worth sitting with, honestly, without drama, without the impulse to immediately either forgive completely or cut off entirely, but with a genuine willingness to look at what is actually happening between you and this person and decide with full information and full self-possession what level of trust and access they have genuinely earned. For some of you, what was said is connected to a romantic situation, a person who has been speaking about your relationship or your connection or your feelings in ways that were not authorized and not accurate to someone in their circle. Perhaps minimizing what exists between you, perhaps reframing the story of what happened in a way that positions them more favorably and positions you as something other than what you are. Perhaps expressing doubts about you to someone else that they have never expressed to you directly, which means you have been navigating a relationship based on an incomplete picture of where they actually stand. That asymmetry where they know things about the state of their own feelings that you do not know is something that deserves to be addressed, not with accusation, but with the simple and powerful act of asking for honesty and requiring it as a condition of continuing to invest yourself. For others, this is less romantic and more social, a friendship or a professional relationship where someone has been speaking about you in ways that have shaped perceptions, shifted dynamics, created distance or tension in other relationships that you have been unable to trace back to their source. That source may be becoming clearer now, and with the clarity, there may come a difficult but ultimately liberating reorientation of how you understand the social landscape around you, who is genuinely in your corner, who is performing proximity while maintaining distance, who has been shaping the narrative around you in ways that serve their own needs rather than honor the truth of who you are. Here's the part that may shake you most deeply, not with devastation, but with the particular shaking that comes from seeing something clearly that you have been half seeing for a while. You may find, as this awareness settles, that you are less surprised than you expected to be, that somewhere beneath the surface of your conscious understanding, some part of you already knew, already felt the inconsistency, already noticed the moments that did not quite add up, already sensed the gap between what this person said to your face and what the energy suggested was happening when you were not present. That knowing, that beneath the surface awareness that you may have been talking yourself out of was accurate. It has always been accurate. And the experience of having it confirmed, even in the uncomfortable way that this kind of confirmation tends to arrive, may be, in its own strange way, a relief, because clarity, even when it is painful, is always preferable to confusion. Confusion keeps you in place, keeps you investing, keeps you trying to make sense of things that don't add up, keeps you adjusting yourself to fit a version of reality that was never accurate to begin with. Clarity sets you free. Clarity allows you to stop contorting yourself to accommodate a dynamic that was not built on honesty, and to redirect all of that energy, all of that care, all of that investment, all of that genuine and generous giving toward the people and the situations that actually deserve it. You deserve to be spoken about the way you speak about the people you love, with care, with accuracy, with the full complexity and the full dignity that a human being deserves when they are not present to speak for themselves. You deserve to be the same person in someone's description of you as you are in their presence. You deserve relationships built on the kind of consistency that does not require you to wonder what is being said when you leave the room. And if this situation has revealed that a particular relationship in your life does not yet meet that standard, that is not a failure of you. It is information, valuable, clarifying, ultimately liberating information about where to place your energy and where to perhaps begin quietly and without drama to invest a little less. What was said about you does not define you. What was said about you says everything about the person who said it and the moment they were living in when they said it, and the unprocessed feelings they were trying to manage by saying it. You are not the portrait. You are the person. And the person, your full, actual, living, breathing self, is far more than any conversation conducted in your absence could ever capture. Walk in that knowledge. Let it steady you when the discomfort of this awareness tries to unsettle you. Let it remind you that the only opinion of you that has ever truly mattered is the one formed in direct, honest, present encounter with who you actually are. Something is becoming clear. Something that has been obscured is finding its way into the light. And as uncomfortable as the clarity may be in this moment, it is carrying you somewhere more honest, more aligned, more genuinely safe than the comfortable confusion that came before it. Trust that movement. Trust the clarity. And trust yourself, the part of you that already knew, that was always paying attention, that was right all along. If this reading reached you somewhere real tonight, if it named something you have been feeling without yet being able to articulate, let it settle. Let it do its work. Subscribe and stay close, because there is more unfolding in your energy than one reading can hold. And the next message may be the one that gives you everything you need to take the next step forward.